Good afternoon, friends. Welcome to another advising adventure here with Mr. Nathan Stout. And our guest, will let her introduce herself in the way and shape and form that she wants to introduce herself. She does have on a name tag, though. Kind of gives it away. No surprise there. But first of all, Nathan Stout, how you doing today, brother?
Hey, good morning, Bill. I'm doing well. Looking forward to this another advising adventure with you.
All right. I am excited, too, because Claire has all kinds of personality.
Absolutely.
All kinds of personality. But see, I already gave the name away in word now, too. But Claire, go ahead and introduce yourself, and then we'll tell them why we are talking to you today.
Sure. So my name is Clare Wilkins, and I am a student here at Craven Community College. I have been a student for almost 2 years, and I'm getting ready to graduate with my associates in arts, and I will be at ECU this fall to wrap up my communications bachelor's degree. And I've also been a work study. So I am very familiar with Mr. Bill, Mr. Nathan, and I'm also familiar with the academic side and what it means to be a student on campus, because I'm here almost every day.
And we are familiar with you, Claire.
I don't know whether to take that as a good or bad.
Oh, it's a great thing, Claire. It's a great thing.
That was a total compliment. In Advising Adventures, we're letting our listeners in on parts of campus, parts of the programs of campus, the personalities of campus. And Nathan thought that it would be a great idea to, if students are tuning into some of these advising adventures, to really hear some of the wisdom that you can impart upon them, Claire, especially if they're just getting started. So really the first question we want to ask is what were some of the most difficult challenges, as you recall, when you first came on campus, your first semester, getting started? What do you remember as challenges?
Before even being enrolled in classes, the first part that was difficult for me or intimidating was the application process. I wouldn't say that now because I work with the admissions staff as a work study, but if you don't have any idea about how entrance works to a college, it's an intimidating process. They want you to apply. They want you to fill out a FAFSA. You don't know what that is. They want you to have transcripts. And so that was, an intimidating part. Because, they started wanting all this documentation from me and, you have to pay for college. It's, a totally different ballgame than high school was. So making that transition from high school to college was a little difficult. But, I would say really utilizing the admission staff or any of our student services department is great because they will get you on the right track. There's so many steps that I think that I just didn't know where to go, where to follow through with them at. I think it's, sometimes can be a lengthy process. And so I would, say that it would be really good if you could have just at least one person you're in contact with that works in student services so they can kind of guide you through the process. Even if they're only, specific to advising or specific to financial aid, they can definitely connect you with other people to get you going. And the other part that was difficult for me was selecting classes. Bill knows this. He's helped me register for some classes. I just didn't really know what I wanted my schedule to look like. What kind of classes did I want to take? Did I want to take seated? Did I want to take hybrid or online classes? And so my first semester, I did a mix. I had one class that was hybrid. I had another class that was fully seated. And then I had another class that was fully online. So I got 3 different tastes and kind of figured out, okay, what do I like and dislike? You're not going to know if you're going to like a fully seated college class or a fully online class until you try it. But it was intimidating to, attend a college class not knowing what to expect. So I'd say those were the first 2 things that really were difficult. But once you get past that first semester, you kind of have the general feel for things. Not that, new things won't come up, but it kind of gives you an idea of what to expect in the future.
Now, Claire, you're not the shyest person in the world, but really you make a good point. Self-advocacy, how important is that to develop? Not just coming out of high school, but, we get folks that maybe went to work after high school or started a family after high school.
Yeah.
They're coming back. It's just as intimidating, for them, the vocabulary of college. FAFSA, right? How many times have you heard the FAFSA called a FAFSA or a FASI or just lots of different things? But how important is self-advocacy to find your voice, to be assertive?
It's really important. And the funny thing is that when I came to Craven, before I was at Craven, I wasn't a shy person, but I was definitely more of a less vocal person unless I was around people that I was familiar with. So being at Craven has made me realize that if you just speak up and ask for help or ask a question, there are people here who want to give you an answer or will find you the answer. So, but they're not going to be able to give you that answer unless you investigate or ask. And so, one of the number one things I see a lot of students or a lot of peers have is like, I don't know how to get into my email. Well, ask somebody, if you're having that issue. And so that's another struggle was, oh my gosh, I have to have a long password that's 14 characters and I have to log into 3 different accounts and I have to do a syllabus quiz. What's a syllabus quiz? I mean, those are questions that I remember thinking like, oh, it's going to look bad if I ask somebody a question that, a syllabus quiz is such a basic thing. But if I hadn't asked, I would not have known that that was something that was important for me to do on day one, or I would be dropped from the class. So self-advocacy is really important because it's a little bit different than high school. You're not necessarily going to have someone fully checking up on you all the time. But if you kind of open that door of communication with someone, then you've given them that ability and accountability to check in with you. Hey, how are classes going? Hey, let's get you registered, So you have to kind of open that door. You have to be the one to almost initiate that communication. It's different than high school. They're not going to come after you. You have to show up a little bit, walk into our building, just walk into our building and, someone will help you.
Hey, Claire, besides student services, what are some other resources around the campus that you used?
Yeah, the library became a really great resource. I'm almost ashamed to say that I didn't use it pre-COVID. But once COVID started, I didn't have a place to study. I mean, my local spots, like in New Bern, were closed, so I couldn't go there. So I started utilizing the library. I would either just go in and sit down at a table, or I'd book a study room if I wanted to be alone. And honestly, I wish that was something that I had discovered before push came to shove, and I realized, oh, I need a study space because it's free. And it's a quiet space. And then if you are working with peers, you can, lay out everything on a table and get a good study space. But it was a really good place for me to go during COVID and still is because, as a student, it's difficult to just be in class and then try to go home and feel like you have to go through hours of schoolwork. So having that ability to go in and be in a quiet space where other people are also studying was kind of just, helped create the, environment that I needed. So it really helped get me through, some of the last legs of the semesters.
You mentioned the library, Claire, and people who might not be familiar with the campus, and you do work up front as one of our outstanding work study students. But it's been made convenient, I think, for students to come to Barker Hall, where we're located, and they can see admissions, they can see advising, they can see financial aid, they can pay for anything, their classes, graduation applications, whatever, because we have the cashier's office. And then right upstairs is the library that you were referencing, as well as the testing center, because some people may need to do a placement test or different kinds of tests, depending on what programs they're in. It's really kind of convenient, we hope, for students, having it all right here in Barker Hall.
I've actually utilized the testing center one time. There was, I think it was a math course I was in, and I knew I was going to be absent a certain day. And so my teacher worked out with me in advance that since I was going to miss the test, he sent the test up to the testing center, and I was able to, still go and take it. And so that testing center is not only there for, the big standardized testing, but it's there to utilize for, regular academic classes as well. So I've used that, and it's great to be able to, go and make up a test. And, the teacher was able to work with me in that aspect.
So let me wade you into the next question, because, it's very common, not uncommon, when students start, that it's like, I kind of have an idea maybe of what I want to do, but not quite sure. And so you wrestle back and forth with, well, I might go in this direction and this direction. So Claire, when did it begin to crystallize for you, or when you felt a little more confident about, okay, I'm taking these college classes, this is my program of study, and now I kind of know where I want to go next? Can you talk a little bit about that
Oh,
journey
yeah.
for you, and
Oh,
what
yes.
what degree you're graduating with, and then where it's going to take you next.
Sure. Yeah, when people ask me now, currently, what I want to do, I have a very clear answer. And people always are like, oh, that suits you, and that's great. It's just so obvious. But that was not always the case. Actually, when I entered Craven, I had no idea. I mean, I had a few different things on the table, but I was not ready to commit to anything. And so, being a community college student was a great way for me to figure that out, because I could take some classes that kind of helped me realize, hey, I do like this, or maybe I don't like this, and kind of get me to figure out which way we needed to, create the path for me. And so there's been a few classes that I've taken that it was like, yeah, that probably isn't where I want to head. I really have. But it was helpful. Those mistakes were helpful because they cleared up for me what I am interested or not interested in. Things became really clear last fall. So I had been a student at Craven for a little over a year. And I was again in some class that just wasn't going necessarily as well as I thought it was going to be, and it was a class that was going to be very important for what I was going to do at ECU in the fall. And so I started realizing, okay, well, if I'm having some stumbling blocks here, maybe I need to reevaluate my next 2 to 3 years of education plan. So it was a great place to catch, hey, maybe I need to rework my my dream career. And so I also utilized, I think Craven has not only some great staff, but they're all, all of our staff are willing to discuss their roles and what they look like. And so I was able to actually sit down with our communications director and talk a little bit about his job. And that kind of helped me realize, okay, yeah, I would love to do that. I think that everything he has said, really resonates with me, and it's something that I have a good skill set at. So, for me, figuring out what I wanted to do really came from networking and just asking lots of questions. I remember asking Bill, picking at his brain. And so picking at people's brain and just asking questions was kind of the way that I navigated to figuring out I wanted to be at ECU this fall and work on my communications degree. But it was not always crystal clear for me. I went back and forth. There was even a semester where I reworked all of my classes to head towards like a psychology degree. So it was very much, a work in progress. But the community college level was a great place to do that at. There's wiggle room and there's time to take those classes and figure that out. So it made me feel okay knowing that I can take this class and it's okay if I don't necessarily do as well as I thought I was going to do in it. There's room for mistake and error and margin, that you're not, I didn't feel as much under pressure.
Absolutely. So I know, Claire, so you've already got your transfer plans in place with the ECU. When did you start building your relationship with their advising team and their admissions team? And,
so let's see, I think last year in, I want to say October, there was a week where it's called Free Application Week. And so I went ahead and put in an application to ECU and a few other places because some of the universities participate in Free Application Week. And so, I got out of having to pay the application fee. I think anybody and everybody should take advantage of that. So even if you're not sure where you want to go, put in an application in a few different places. I mean, you'll save money. So I started that in October. And then I sent them an unofficial transcript, basically the classes that I had taken up to that point. And then in January or February of this year, I reached out and had my first initial contact with my advisor. And we just started kind of going over what my admissions process would look like. And then as of 2 weeks ago, talked again about what classes I wanted to take. I will say I was surprised at how their timeline looks in comparison to the community college. They tend to register a little bit sooner, I guess. So I would say that when you're transferring, it's important to, really work ahead. So, it was weird to me to be, reaching out to a college in October when I wasn't going to be with them until like the next year. But it's paid off because now I already have a working relationship with my new ECU advisor. So I'm, building that foundation with her, and we're talking about classes. So come August, it won't be a shock to me to meet my new advisor and understand how my logins will work at ECU.
I mean, that's a great point, Claire, because a lot of students, coming to community college, they might wait till the last minute to register for classes.
Yes.
But whereas at university, they're working things a year out.
Yeah.
So
That would be something else I would suggest, even at the community college level. I found it better to register as soon as the registration opened versus waiting till the end, not only because the spots were more limited, but I was able to plan more. I was able to know what my schedule was going to be. You've also got to get books and materials. If you're in a biology class, you've got to get lab materials. So registering when that period opens is really beneficial because it gives you time to prepare and make adjustments if something comes up. So there's been a few times in semesters why I won't register until like right up to that deadline. And, the nerves are racking because, oh my gosh, I've got to get to the bookstore and I've got to make sure my advisor has this and my instructor has this. So taking advantage of those registration openings, I mean, if you can do it as soon as possible, it pays off.
Yeah, and so you've said many things that one of the questions is, what's your advice for students just getting started? And I'll kind of paraphrase this because I want to be specific in one area we haven't talked about yet. But, obviously, asking questions, self-advocacy, building relationships, networking with staff, faculty, other students, groups on campus, definitely making sure that you beat the deadlines, not only for registering for classes, but, when you're taking classes, just always be organized, know when the deadlines to turn in assignments are, to take the tests, the quizzes, and those kind of things. So the area I want to be specific in, because I think you can really speak to it, is financial assistance, right? We did mention the FAFSA, but so what are ways, when students say, how am I going to pay for college? And a community college is definitely cheaper, more cost efficient than 4 years starting out. But what are the ways that you've seen people receive assistance along the way financially?
Yeah. A lot of people, including myself, were like, oh, I'm probably not eligible for financial aid. I can pay for my food when I go out tonight, so I don't need to apply for financial aid. And so the first thing is, oh, I don't think I'll be eligible. Well, you won't know if you're eligible until you fill out the application. And none of our financial aid advisors can tell you if you're eligible until you fill it out. Each student is truly different. No one is the same. We're not carbon copies. So you fill out something called the FAFSA, and it's the free, I'm thinking about it today, the free student federal aid application. I think that's how that goes. And it is, that was another really intimidating thing. I mean, they're wanting like me to sign my life away. They're going to ask a lot of questions. But really at the end of the day, they're trying to get the view of you as a student, and are you working and what your income situation looks like? Are you living at home? Do you have siblings? Where do you fit in the family picture? And then they're trying to get an accurate representation of your parents. We have some students who still live with parents. They're traditional college students, they're early 20s. And then we have others that are not, that, they're a single family home, they're parents to their own children. So the FAFSA takes information from there and reviews it all. And then our financial aid office can let the student know what they're eligible for. And a lot of our students are eligible for something called the Pell Grant. And I didn't know what the Pell Grant was, but, the way I explain it to students is it's essentially free money. Craven Community College doesn't, we do accept loans, but we don't, ever want a student to have to resort to that. So we try to give them scholarship opportunities or grants. So the Pell Grant is the biggest one, and it'll help cover some costs. Depends on if you're a full-time student or a part-time student. But we also have scholarships available. The bookstore scholarship, many students will come in and fill out the bookstore scholarship and go to the bookstore and get some books. And then our Craven Community College Foundation is also really good about providing financial assistance case by case. And we've also done an excellent job, I think, with COVID. There have been several, I think maybe 2 now, COVID CARES Act funds relief for students who were affected academically and financially with COVID. So, Craven really takes care of their students, and we want to make sure that, they're able to get through school one way or the other. And so for me, that was helpful, and I see students utilize it all the time. But again, you won't know your options until you complete that FAFSA. It's like there are many opportunities for financial aid, but you've got to go through that first door, and it's the FAFSA. So we do have a wonderful financial aid staff that can sit down with students and fill out the FAFSA. So if you're intimidated to do it by yourself, schedule an appointment and someone will hold your hand and walk you through. I mean, not during COVID times, but someone will walk you, through it and hold your hand and get you through the application. So my advice would be to fill it out because, you could be eligible and you could be able to take more classes if you have more assistance.
See, like you, Claire, back in 81, and I'm talking 1981, not 1881. So don't be throwing shade.
Okay.
Right. But yeah, I was a work study student as well. Filled out the FAFSA. I wasn't eligible for a lot of Pell money, but I was eligible to be a work study student, and I worked in the library, and that helped pay some of my tuition and costs. And
I could so see you being in the library.
Oh yeah, totally.
Were you too loud for the library though? Did you have to
They put me in very, very obscure parts of the library so that I wouldn't distract other people. But
yeah, I would assume you would be the distractor.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but
yeah, that's the other question I get is, how do I become a work study? Again, you have to fill out that FAFSA to see what you're, financially eligible for. So that's another route. I mean, there are a lot of routes to take with the FAFSA.
Got anything else for Mr. Stout?
Bill, I think Claire did a wonderful job as always. I guess you've already said a lot, Claire. I mean, what last minute advice would you give a student that's starting this journey, this college journey?
I would say, even if you are going to be an online student or you're not sure if you're going to take classes on the New Bern campus or the Havelock campus, and especially during COVID, a lot of students are opting for the online or hybrid. I would say, don't put it in your mind that, I don't need to go be on campus and meet with my advisor or visit. Regardless of how you plan to attend classes, come see student services if you can in person, because like Bill said, we are student services and we're called First Stop, and they really are the first place to stop to get help with your financial aid, get an advisor to help you if you want to get VA benefits, pay for your classes at the cashier's office, go upstairs, utilize the library, take a test up there. You may not realize how great and vital of a resource we are until you walk in the building and realize that we're all here to push you to the finish line of success. And so I would say that regardless of how you plan to take classes, or regardless of what program or how much enrollment you think you'll have, I would say come see student services because they're going to be a vital part of your success. And they'll get to watch you walk at graduation, and they'll get to watch you through that success.
Claire, you are awesome. I know we tease each other a lot, but
I know.
I respect you.
I'm sorry, guys. It's hard not to tease Bill.
But I respect you. I'm impressed by you, and I know you're going to do great things at ECU. And then we want you to come back. And then when Craig either takes another job somewhere else or retires early or whatever, you slip right in there, and then you become that girl, right? That woman. So lead us.
Yes.
So that'll be great. We're gonna Claire's gonna kind of sneak out. We're gonna then we're gonna sneak another one of our friends in.
Oh yes, I'm so excited for you guys to meet the next guest.
Absolutely.
I won't give her away. I'll let her introduce herself. Bill didn't give that part to me.
All right. So thanks, Claire.
Thanks, Claire.
Right, thank you, guys.
And just like magic, we are back. Claire exited stage left, and entering in is one of our friends, and I'm going to let her introduce herself, and then we're going to ask her some questions, and it's going to be great. So go ahead and introduce yourself, friend.
Hi, my name is Ngwe. I am attending Craven Community College, and I am in the nursing program starting fall 2021. I'm really excited to be here.
And Ngwe, you are awesome to have around the office. I know you work in our office with us, and you're great. And so we just wanted to kind of pick your mind about a few things. And the first thing we wanted to ask you was, you know, when you first started at Craven, what were some of the challenges, some of the obstacles for you when you first got started?
When I first started in Craven, I was actually attended Craven Early College. So I actually had my guidance counselor to help me with the Craven side of school. But the first thing that was the hardest for me was my student email, how to access my student email, how to access Moodle, and how to use Web Advisor. I didn't really get much information on that because we were doing high school schoolwork too on the other side. So we utilized this more of our high school email and such. So I had a hard time with that. And we didn't really get much of a tour around campus. Our guidance counselor went through us at what building, which building was which, but we didn't really go in depth. We didn't really go to like a specific room where each classes were and such. So my first day of class, I was lost. I believe I was 30 minutes late because I couldn't find it. But yeah.
So, Nee, you said you were an early college student, so you've been here for a little while.
Yeah.
What's been the difference now that you're, you know, finished early college and you're getting ready to start on as a traditional student? What are some of the challenges you face with that, like dealing with financial aid and stuff like that?
Since graduating, I know so much more now. I have more experience, so I know who to go to if I need help with, and which department I need to see if I need help with. So for financial aid, if I needed help with FAFSA, I would go to financial aid and stuff. I have more experience on that now. With financial aid, since I graduated from early college, because I graduated with an associate, I'm not a full-time anymore. So I am receiving less of a financial aid right now, but I have applied for scholarships at Craven, and I know we have a lot, and I'm just waiting on hoping to get some.
So, we're very interested in talking to that. You know, first of all, coming through the early college is interesting. Not a lot of people understand that or know that, but that's another whole program in and of itself. And so glad that you took advantage of that. But you mentioned nursing school, right? The
Yes.
nursing program, and that's really kind of where we wanted to focus on because we get a lot of students that come to Craven who say, I'm interested in the nursing program. And Nathan and I, probably every week, Nathan, we get a handful of people asking about our nursing program. It's just,
Sure do.
And thank goodness, because we know that there's a nursing shortage out there. We know the healthcare industry really needs good people. And I'm so glad that Nee is going to be out there and taking care of me in my older age if she stays around here. But so Nee, tell us from your perspective, the journey of preparing to apply to the nursing program, what you needed to do, what you learned about it, you know, what were some of the issues with applying to the nursing program?
So when I was trying to get into the nursing program, I didn't know, I knew like I had to take some prerequisites like anatomy and physiology that was going to go towards my nursing program, and that I need to finish those before I can apply to the nursing program. I didn't know we had to take the TEAS test like that. I was not prepared for that. And I didn't know that we had to get our nurse aid 1 license to be able to go into the nursing program. I found out a lot last semester, like what was required to go into, especially from the Craven website. I did not know that we could go there and like almost all the information is there. But the first one I had to prepare for was the TEAS test. I studied 4 months on that, I believe. Yep, I was really nervous, but I passed, and now I'm getting into the nursing program. But with one thing about the nursing program that I really like, it offers it works with ECU. It has a partnership with ECU, so it offers the a ribbon program. When I first tried to find out more information about the nursing program, I didn't know much about the a ribbon partnership, but now I learned that I could do the A-Ribbon program with ECU, which lets me do 2 years here at Craven and 1 year at ECU online, and I will graduate with my bachelor degree. And the one thing that I like about the nursing program at Craven is that once you graduate with your associate degree, Carolina East actually offer you employment there.
Yeah, that's do Do you plan to stay in this area, Ngwe, after you get through your bachelor's degree at ECU? And are you going to go to work at Carolina East? What's your plans?
I actually want to work at Carolina East for a few years to build my experience. And I actually want to do travel nurse and then join the Peace Corps later on. So my goal is to work at Carolina East for a few years, get some experience, and then go on to do travel nurse, and then finally join the Peace Corps, because I've always wanted to help out internationally, especially to the refugee camps around the world. And I've made plans on that already, but I just want to wait and see how things go from now on instead of just rushing into it.
That's awesome, Ngwe. That's awesome that you got that plan. You want to be able to help everyone, help other people. So when did you become really confident about your plans? Sounds like, nursing was something you always wanted to do, probably ever since you was in early college.
Yeah. My mom was a nurse actually. So I came from a refugee camp in Thailand, and my mom was a nurse in that camp. And I always, like, whenever she go to work, I would always tag along with her, and I seen some of the stuff she did, and I really, really loved it. So when we got to America, like I always knew since I was young, I was like, I'm gonna be a nurse. Like, I want to help people, and I'm gonna be a nurse, and that's how I'm gonna do it. And I just, getting into middle school, getting into high school, I just took anything that's related to health, and I just try to get as much information. I was always researching, like, what kind of nurse I want to be, like which type of nurse would suit me best. And I've always been researching how I can help in, like, foreign countries, third world countries, and that's how I built my plan along the way.
So, Ngwe, what our listeners, whoever's tuning in, and next year, Ngwe and I are already going to do some planning together, and we're going to pull Nathan in on it. So my next question is, some of those cultural challenges for those who are not, the English may not have been their first language, right? Or they come from refugee camps. They're coming from different countries. What are some of the challenges that they face that may be different? Because I'm hoping these types of videos will make it to those viewers as well. What were some of those challenges, and how did you respond to those challenges and overcome those challenges?
The biggest challenge was the language barrier, of course. Like, we weren't familiar with the English language, and we weren't familiar with the culture yet. So adapting to that was really hard. But when we first got here, the Introvert Refugee Committee were the one who helped us, like, how to settle in. They provided resource to us, and they were the one setting up appointments to go visit hospital for what we need. They were like our provider for that, but they try to give us some time to adjust. And once we get comfortable, they let us be on our own and try to do stuff on our own. The second person that helped us the most was our teacher at school. They knew that we were from refugee camps, so they worked one-on-one with us, and they try to make us feel as comfortable as we can. And whatever help we needed, they were always there. And that's why I've had so much appreciation for them. They are the biggest helper in this point. But yes, those are the two things. And I think with my culture, the way we dress is differently too. So when going to shops, when going to appointments, we had many judgments. And as a young kid, I wasn't really aware of that. I knew that people were judging me, but I didn't really know how to respond. And that was one of the insecurity that built up along the way. When I got to middle school, I wasn't used to the American culture. Yes, I wasn't used to social media, having a phone, and all those stuff. And I felt really insecure to the point that I didn't want to go outside. I felt insecure actually about my culture. I always wanted to stay in. I didn't want to speak my language. I didn't even want to bring my own food to school because I didn't want people making fun of me. But now that I'm grown, I realized that I love my culture. Like, I realized how important it is because it allowed me to be more open-minded. It allowed me to be more understanding. And now that I'm working with people from different backgrounds and such, it helped me a lot along the way.
So kind of being able to work with, like, diverse cultures or diverse backgrounds, that just kind of help reinforce and strengthen your own resolve, correct?
Yes, correct.
What were some of the little support groups that you were able to find on campus, just to feel connected to people and feel like, okay, yeah, I'm a part of the, the campus, and you're adopting a new culture, obviously, but were you able to find a group of people or situations where it's like, okay, yeah, I kind of feel like I belong and fit in?
Joining clubs really helped me a lot. I met different people they were very diverse, and they helped me to be more open, and I didn't feel like I was being judged in those clubs. We like get to know each other. We were trying to get to know each other on our culture, what we liked and stuff. And the advisors for the club were very welcoming. They were always open to my ideas. They were always wanting to know about my culture and the language. Everyone in the club wants to learn. That's the one thing I loved about it. It's like there were no judgment, and everybody was just trying to learn anything they can, and they weren't trying to offend or anything, and they were just trying to get educated about my culture.
Awesome. And that, as a college campus, we always want to improve on those opportunities and building in those opportunities for all of our students, because we do have a large diversity of students on a community college campus, and it's important to have those opportunities for people to connect, share their cultures, and then grow the understanding of those cultures. So yeah, we're going to continue to work on that. So Ngwe, what kind of advice would you have for students who are just getting started, coming onto a college campus, whether they're traditional, coming out of high school, early college, or you probably have met adults who are coming back to school after working or raising a family or whatever. But what's your advice to folks when they're kind of wide-eyed and not sure everything going on? What would you say to them to kind of get grounded and get started on the right foot?
My first advice is don't be scared to reach out for help. Whether it's a teacher, whether it's a classmate, just don't be scared. Like go out to them and like ask for help if you need it, or if you don't know where to go or which department. The first person that you see, you can ask them for help, because I've met so many amazing people at Craven who I could just go up to if I'm lost or anything and just ask them for help, and they'll take me to the right department and they'll assist me all the way. And that's what I think freshmen who are coming here, or people who are just returning back to school, they're scared and they don't really know what to do, and they're scared to reach out for help because they're afraid. And I feel like don't let that stop you. Just go out, reach for help, and we'll be here. That's what we're here for. Like we're here to help, so don't worry.
Nathan, can you think of anything else you want to ask of Ngwe?
Nah, once again, Ngwe and Clare, they both did a wonderful job, and I'm just so glad to see them both taking that next step in their journey, in their education journey.
Yeah, how lucky are we, Nathan, to be able to work with Ngwe and Clare and all the other wonderful students that come through the doors, and as we watch them grow, get challenged, respond to the challenges, have the successes, and then continue to move forward. Ngwe, you are going in the right direction, my friend. We need you in the healthcare system, working as a nurse, Peace Corps, all your goals. Everybody needs you. So, and I'm so happy that you're going to be, able to use your talents, abilities, skills, passion for all those things. So, best of luck to you, and we will definitely be watching you as you continue your nursing career.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Well, that will end our advising adventure for now. We appreciate those who have tuned in and viewed, and just have a wonderful day. And if you need anything, get into Barker Hall, first stop, call us. If we don't have the answer, we'll find it. Absolutely. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Ngwe.
Thank you.